thing now. LGBTQ people are now the targets of the new administration. And similarly, we also know that trans people are actually living under the equivalent of Jim Crow. I mean, they're
Yes.
losing all rights, today. And similarly, words like feminism, women, the idea that there aren't two genders, banned. So in some ways, the situation we're facing now is even worse. So I wanted to encourage activist groups to delve into this big literature that's actually being developed about how movements survive during repressive times. And also to tell you, the ironic thing is this theory that we developed of abeyance, how movements change. They built solidarity. There are three characteristics of how movements are able to survive. First, they have to keep an activist network together, a group of people who are commonly committed to the same commitment, they're committed to the same cause, the same political commitments. In this case, it's really the same political commitments. Feminism, women's studies is political, or lesbianism. And secondly, they have to promote solidarity, find ways to build a social life, which is what was basically the softball teams and Women Against Rape. Their serious activities, serious issues were dealt with, by feminist organizations in the community that were not, they were separate from the dominant organizations that were at that time very masculinist and patriarchal and exclusive. So in a sense, the way to survive is to promote, to keep, and also writings. Now that we can, actually, they're trying to abolish these organizations. This is what's taking place right now since the Charlie Kirk assassination, basically, is they are trying to abolish these organizations so that we cannot keep alive activist groups that are resisting the dominant government authority. So this is more important than ever. Speaking out, even if it's peacefully, even if it's quiet, even if we can't do the kind of outrageous things that we did, we have got to keep speaking up. We cannot obey in advance, as Timothy Snyder said. And this is the most frightening thing that's happening now. Because one last thing I will say is, remember that in 1980, Reagan was elected. Everything these women were doing was in the late 70s. And the 80s were really when all of this was starting to be planned. A lot of these actions, if you look at 2025, Project 2025, this has all been in the making now for several decades. So what happened, and there's a lot of literature on this, is when Obama was in office, the right-wing extremist groups built up power by going into abeyance. And there are multiple books now that have written about it. Socializing their children to only listen to Ku Klux Klan music, the hate label, dressing up, like Nazis on Halloween, basically coming to believe these right-wing ideas so that then when Trump was elected, as Kathy Lee has written in her book, they were all ready. I spoke to her about it. She's a social movement scholar who's written about right-wing extremism. So I think we need to know this is going to be a long battle. It's going to be just as long as the battle they engaged in, if not longer. And I'm sorry to take up so much time, and I'm sorry if my voice is shaking, but watching this today made me feel so sad in so many ways that I left this beautiful community, even though I know it's not still there. It reminded me
Some of us are still here.
who I am.
It sounds like they